So this is just a test run. We're trying to figure out how to do the live where I can bring people on so I can talk to some of my guests that I have lined up. So if you guys are viewing this and get on, don't trip out that I'm not really doing anything over here. So I'm just practicing live, trying to get some things going, trying to figure some things out. You know, but if I'm here. So like he said, hi, salute. Like if anybody knows how to figure out how to get somebody on here with me, like let me know, hit me up. You know, like for you guys that's been following me, I know it's not the exact same thing that I've been doing. It's just sharing you guys horrendous and outrageous prison stories. I still got some of them in the works. I still got some of them in my head. But for me, I just want to bring, I just want to take you guys through the journey that I'm going through with everything that I'm doing out here. The last couple of weeks, I've been in a lot of meetings with nonprofit organizations. We had went to the Odyssey House to go speak to the kids that are having some issues. And yesterday, we were at a law firm, public defender's office. That is lady over there that invited us over there to help us figure out what we can do to help curb the gun violence out here in Utah. You know, rightly, wrongly, when someone gets caught with a gun, when one of these kids get caught with a gun, if they're brown or they're black, every everybody assumes that they're gang members. Then they try to put their gang enhancements on them and certify them and ship them out to the penitentiary. These are kids, under 18. But this is not me saying it, but the lady that we were working with, she's a white lady, but she made the comment that, well, if young Timmy, a white kid, gets caught with a gun, well, he must be going hunting. And that's the mentality that we're trying to just break these people out of. The mentality of judging people by the color of their skin, or by the neighborhoods they come from, or by the economic classes that their family are in. You always hear the saying that if a white person has a drug problem, he has a problem. But if like a brown person is a user, they're addicts. And there's power in words, most definitely. The way you phrase things, the way you say things gives people a different impression, even though you're trying to say the same thing about a certain subject, but the way you word it resonate with people differently. And these psychologists and these therapists, they know those things. Like right now, they don't use the word convicts anymore. They use the word justice involved, you know, because they believe that, calling somebody a convict or an ex felon and so forth has a negative was it connotation attached to it. So now they use the word justice involved. But but every week, my new platform is I want to share the story with how me and my wife met throughout the years. Like I told you, she saved all the letters that we written to each other back in the penitentiary, back when I was in the penitentiary. Then once a week, I want to give you guys a glimpse of what we're doing out here with the homies from the Day One Utah Project. These guys, Dez and Solo and Swerve, They're out here putting in the work. And I just want to find a way to give them their flowers, give them some exposures, show the people not just here in Utah, but across the country how dudes that has lived that life, that's been in the penitentiary, that's been in trouble, and all the rest that contribute to all the chaos in our society has now pivot and evolved and are trying to give back. And what they're doing giving back is their life experience, trying to share with the youth where they've been and what they've done. You know, you guys hear me say a lot of times about that, if I don't want my kids in the streets, then I can't really justify setting somebody else's kids in the streets. But we as a community, we sit around and wait for somebody else to do something. We complain about the things that's going on in the community, but we keep our doors locked and we stay in our house hoping somebody else will come by and fix it. And, if everybody does that, then the problems that we have in our community is never going to get solved. Like, I don't know what I'm doing out here. I don't know the kind of effect that I'm going to be able to have doing what I do, but I know that, and I believe that we all have a role to play, because things aren't going to fix itself. And if we really want a better community, we really want a community. And when I say community, it's not just people living there in the same city as you or this and that. Community, I mean neighbors knowing neighbors. Where when a kid's running down the street, you know who his parents are. And because an example I gave was my little niece. I bought her some roller skates for her birthday last year, and she had took off down the street roller skating on her own. But my sister's husband got mad. Like, why did you let her go out there in the street by herself? When we were kids, I used to run around till the sun come up. At night, all the neighborhood kids would be congregate at my house playing kick the can, team tag, and hide and go seek and all that stuff all throughout the night with no problems. All the neighbors knew. I mean, we lived in an apartment complex, out in California on Chrysler Drive. And, people live in an apartment complex. You already know there's a lot of shit that goes on in there. But at the same time, most of the people that lived in those apartment complexes were all Asian, whether they were Cambodian, Laos, or Vietnamese, or Hmong. There's a lot of Hmong out in California. But we were still, even though there was violence around us, even though there were still gangs in the neighborhood, us kids, we were still able to run around the apartments at night playing tag and playing hide and go seek and all the rest of it. Like now here, parents are afraid to let their kids go down the street on their own. And we should all feel there's a problem with that. But, they're all inside the house. They're not out in the community, in the streets, getting to know their neighbors or any of that. They just trying to keep all their kids indoor and hoping somebody else fix the problem. And for me, I don't know if I'm looking for redemption or anything of that nature. I just know that I want to be able to go to the mall without having to worry about getting into a confrontation. Because before, when I used to hang out, everywhere I went, we went to certain places just for the purpose of trying to catch our opposition and then get into a confrontation. But I understand like those actions ruin the experience for other people around us. When we go to the fair, there's families there, there's kids there that are going over there trying to enjoy the festivities, trying to enjoy the rides, and all the stuff that comes with the state fair. But when guys like me show up and we get into a fight or we get into a shooting, it ruins it for everybody and it traumatizes these young kids. And that's not cool. Like me being the age that I am now, having young nephews and nieces that I want to take to places, I want to be able to go anywhere in the city and have it be a safe environment. And it can be. Like even for the gangbangers out there that's still running the streets and doing what you're doing, I'm not here to tell you to stop. I'm not here to tell you don't do what you're doing. But if you're a real gangsters, then you got to understand that being a gangster, there's integrity that comes with it. There's respect, and with respect, you have to be able to respect the environment that you're in. Because if you want people to respect you, like no one's gonna stop you from handling your business and whatever it is that you got going on. But you have to understand there's a time and place for it. And if you want to get away with the things that you're doing it in a public place, making a scene is definitely not a way to get away with it. You know? So like for me, that's my mentality, man. Like whatever life you live, whatever it is you're doing, we got to have structure. We have to understand that, hey, this is not the place for it. And also, even if you're a gangbanger, gangster, whatever out there, you still got brothers and sisters. You still got a mom and dad. You know, you ask yourself, what kind of neighborhood you want to live in? You want to live in a neighborhood where your sister can't go outside in the street and play hopscotch and jump rope without having to worry about somebody getting hit with a stray bullet or somebody running down, snatching their necklace off their neck? Or you want to be able to live, do you want that type of neighborhood, or do you want a neighborhood where your little sisters and little brothers can run around up and down the street all day and all night and not have to worry about anything? Everybody always wants somebody else to do something. And what I mean is that if you sit here and I ask you, what kind of friend do you want? You're going to start checking off the list. You're going to say, I want a friend that's loyal. I want a friend that's reliable. I want a friend that's dependable, that's going to be there for me, that's going to have my back, that's going to listen, and all the rest. But do you ever stop to ask yourself, what kind of friend am I? If you expect all these things from your friend, then you need to expect them from yourself to be that same friend. And it's the same thing within our community. If you want good neighbors, you yourself got to be a good neighbor. You know, like Michael Brooks, man, much love to you. I love all your comments. I'm so grateful for your support. And, sometimes when I read your comment, I'm not sure that I'm able to live up to those things because, your last comment says, that I'm now a humanitarian. And I understand the definition of it. Can you fix the camera? And the words and what it means and stuff. But I'm not really sure if, I can qualify for those things. My objective is not really to claim any title. I just know where I've been. And where I've been is a miserable place. And there's people that's being funneled through that system on a daily basis. Thousands of thousands every day getting funneled into this system, filling up those cells. And it's heartbreaking because, being home, having conversations with the people around me, my family, and all the rest, like I realized that, my life is not really my own. The actions that I've made affect all the people around me in a negative way. It's not even about me like losing my freedom or being locked up because I've always been the kind to take responsibility for my actions. I never cried about my time. The only issues that I had was that I suppose I only had gotten 20 years, but instead I got 26 because they used extra stuff to enhance me. My beef was they should have just followed the law and their guideline and just gave me what I got coming instead of all the extra. But outside of that, I fully understand that the things that I was doing out here deserve to be I deserve to be in prison for that. You know, like you can't expect to be a menace and cause chaos and cause harm and not be held accountable for it. Yeah, it'd be great you got away with it, fine. But within yourself, you know that the stuff that you are doing is destructive. Not just destructive to your own well-being, your own soul, but to all the people around you and in extension to your community. You know, being back home now, like before I came home, there was a lot of people that was worried and concerned about me getting out of jail just because of my reputation and because how I was before I got locked up and how I was while I was in the penitentiary. I know I'm a little guy with glasses, and sometimes the stories I share with you guys, it's hard to believe that it comes from this person here. But there's no need for me to exaggerate anything that I've done or things that I've been through or seen. But everything that I do, everything that I've done in there, we always have people that are on the yard with me that are from home, from Utah. Utah is very small, so everybody knows everybody. There's no way that I can get on here, broadcast this to the world, saying that I'm this and that, without somebody knowing me and getting on here talking about, nah, you're full of shit. You ain't what you say you are. You know, that's not possible. But if you guys see the comments and stuff, there's been individuals that's been in the penitentiary with me, that's done time with me, that's been in my unit, that's been on that yard, that's been in my celly. you know. So again, like the things that they've seen, things they've heard before and during my incarceration played a role in their concerns about me coming back home. Because they don't know the mentality that I'm in at this state in life. They don't know if I've changed or if I pivot or any of that. They just know that the guy they knew before, the guy that they've been hearing about, has a lot of anger, is mad at the world. And I was, you know, sometimes I wanted to burn it down out of spite just because I felt like, there was, unjust things that were coming my way. But that's me playing the victim. That's me not coming to a point in my life to understand that I had to take responsibility for my own actions. And when I got to that point, when I understand and evaluate myself fairly, not from a victim stance, not from a poor old me, you know, I understood that a lot of the chaos in my life was of my own doing. A lot of times people try to find solutions without recognizing the problem. And when you do that, you're working backwards. You first have to identify the problem. And then if that problem is you have to be man enough, woman enough to recognize that and accept that. Once you accept that, then you can start to grow. My growth is going to be a lifelong process. I have no idea where I'm going with this, and I have no idea or illusion that I'll ever live up to my brand. Baddest mind baddest man alive. Baddest man alive is a mentality of being your best, of aspiring to be great, you know, and for people to be great, you have to value the words integrity, the words respect, honor, loyalty. You can't be a great individual without respecting and cherishing those words there, trying to embody it and live it. You know, that's what I'm striving to be. And I like again, like I don't know if I'll ever achieve that, but I'm sure gonna put my feet forward, keep it moving towards that. you know. But back to what I was saying is that I just want to give my flowers to the homies that came home before me. They're not on here on YouTube speaking about the things that they're doing, the movement that they've been making. But back here in the '90s, if you guys look up the history of us out here in Utah amongst the Asians, we had a bloody war out here with us and the rivals. What we consider the opposition, and people lost their lives, and people lost their freedom. But the homies from both sides, I want to give credit to where all the credit is due. The homies from my hood and the homies from their hood, they were in the penitentiary together out here in the state. Like for me, you know, through the course of my bid, when I ran across those guys, I refused to have a conversation with them, and I funked with them and ended up hurting them and the rest of it. So, the thought was like, man, we're over here trying to keep the peace, but Masa's still in there stomping people out. You know, I just had so much hatred, so much anger because of the things that led up to me being going to prison, that you know having peace with myself or with the opposition was not even a thought in my head. But when I came home, the homies pulled me up and they're like, "Hey, man, one, we're too old for this shit, and two, like, hey, I've done time with these guys, and there's a lot of good dudes, from that other side." Because we get conditioned to thinking that this is our enemy. We never sat down at a table. We never out here, anyways. We never sat down at a table and got to know the person, and got to know that maybe that person across from us that we presume is the enemy has value the same things that we do, have integrity, just like we do. But when you're in a box, in a penitentiary, for the most part, you're forced to do that. You're forced to sit down in the same chow hall. You're forced to live in the same unit. So through those interaction, you get to know the person that's around you, and you find out that, man, this dude is just like me. This dude's a man. This dude is honorable. This dude has morals and ethics that coincide with mine. And when you find that out, for you not to respect that, then that says something about you, that maybe you're the buster, you know? So through the course of these years, these last few years that all my homies been locked up with these individuals, they end up building a rapport. We're not best friends or anything like that, but we came to an understanding, like, you know, like you were doing things for your side, I was doing things for my side, but at the end, what 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 is it all for? We got kids out there shooting each other, don't even know why, because they're from the wrong side of the street, because they're wearing the wrong colors. You know, this is a disease, and I have no problem saying it. Like I've told you guys, like, you know, anybody out there that's got an issue with what I'm doing out here, they're welcome to bring it up to me. They know where I'm at every single day, you know. But I'm not here to disrespect anybody. I'm not here to tell these people that what they're doing is this or that or any of that. I'm just giving you my perspective, my growth, and my opinion of the destructive natures that we've been brought up in, that we still continue to infest our youth with. I'm not here to tell you how to get your money. You know, the way I got my money was robbing people, robbing banks, robbing stores, and the rest of it. And, that being said, I'm the last person that has any footing to sit and judge anyone. But for me, where I'm at in my life is like the things we teach our youth is, can affect their life. The example that we give our youth can lead our youth to success or destruction. And I got to a point in my life where I really understood the definition of love. I can't sit here and tell you that I love you, but I always putting you in harm's way. That's not love. And that's what I'm trying to emphasize to the youth. Your homie can't sit there and tell you that he love you in the same breath when he's telling you to go do something that's destructive, that's going to be destructive to your nature, to your family, and to your community. If you love someone, you want the best for them. You want to find a way where they can grow and be successful. And that's where I'm at in my life, man. I want to see my community prosper. I want to see the youth out here free, enjoying their life, growing old with their friends and family, not having to watch the world pass them by through an 8x6 photo. And I can't emphasize that enough. Like that's my that's what I'm passionate about. Is just sparing some of us the experience that and the life that I live. I mean, there's gonna be people that's already stuck in their ways, they ain't trying to hear it. And that's okay. You know, I'm not under any type of illusion. I'm not delusional, you know. But for me, like again, like if you really care about the people around you, man, you're gonna want the best for them. And that's where I'm at. So yesterday I was over there at the public defender's office. And I told the lady that was speaking to us, like, part of the problem with the public defender's office is that us people that are involved in the system that are caught up and relying on them to represent us is that we're not sure you really care, that you really want to fight for us, or if you're just trying to take all of our cases and will and deal us. Because I got will and deal in my case by my public defender. And after that, I got convicted and sentenced. He moved and relocated his whole family out of town, out to Virginia somewhere. But why would you do that? Because as far as I could understand was that you tried your best and it didn't work out. So that's what I thought. But when he packed up his shit and moved out of state and took his family with him, I was like, damn, that must be a guilty conscience. And later on, I find out through other attorneys that represented me that, yeah, they were, in all their opinion was like, yeah, there was no doubt he sold you out. And that's fucked up because, you take these jobs to represent these individuals to the best of your ability. And it's too bad that the system is like that. And I don't know how to fight that. I don't know how to fight the system once you're in the system. I tried. I still got my case in appeal before I came home. I never won a day off my case. It's an uphill battle. You're fighting the current and all the rest of it. So part of my focus is prison reform, but I really don't know how to go about that. But I know that I can affect change with the kids before they get into the system. And that's where the Day One Project, the Day One Utah, and those guys, that's where their focus at is at getting at the kids before they slip up, or when they're starting to slip up before they get caught up. And I'm really honored to be a part of those guys that they invite me to come along with them, to come and speak and to come and listen and all the rest. Cause like out for me out here, I'm just freestyling. Like you guys know on my videos, I can barely freaking like right now, I'm just trying to test a live video, trying to bring my homie on. And obviously I'm the only one here, so it didn't work out, right? But I got a buddy that of mine, I'll just advertise for him right now or whatever, give him a little promo. Um, his name is Tech. We were Sally's out in Victorville. Me and him almost caught a body together in Victorville. But he's out here from Rose Park, out here from Utah. We was in the county jail together. We first met back in '95, and throughout the years, we stayed good friends. And he has a hell of a personality, So him and I, he's living in San Diego right now, but he's planning on moving back. And part of my videos, part of my content is that me and him going to sit down and do a little podcast together. Like, I'm not sure how entertaining I am, but this guy, he could talk forever. Won't shut the fuck up, right? But he's funny and he's a good dude. Like when you guys follow me, man, I still have my integrity, my standard, regardless who I'm speaking to. I don't associate myself with people that don't live up to the standards that I've set for myself. Yesterday, again, we were in the public defender's office. About a month back, we were at a screening for this thing called a Peacemaker Circle that the Cambodian homie out of Boston, his name is Sarong, he's been doing it for about 20 years. Instead of sending kids to prison, they send the kid to his organization and they try to figure out how to help the kid out and all that, give him like a one last chance before he goes to prison. But in that meeting that we went to, in the screening we went to, there were parole officers, there was judges and prosecutors there that we engage in conversations with. Now, there's some homies out here or some dudes, they're not necessarily my homies because, everything I do is with the blessing of the people around me. But there's still some dudes out here taking it as like, oh, this looks like you guys selling out because you're sitting in there in the same room with judges, prosecutors, and probation officers. When you're not doing anything wrong, when you're not doing anything across the grain, you have no concerns about those chit chat. And I don't, because some of my boys do. And I tell them, listen, you can't affect change from the outside. If you want to change the system, you got to be invited to the table. Because at the end of the day, these are the people that holds the keys to our lives, to our community. When they pass laws, when they pass policies, when they make rules, that affects us. That affects everybody around us. And if you're just on the outside crying about it, no one gives a fuck. They're not going to hear you. They're not concerned about your opinion. And crying about it is not going to change anything. So for you to really want to change things for the better, for yourself, for your community, you have to be at the table. You have to be able to be present and have that conversation. And the only way to have that conversation is to be in that room. So for the homies that from day one, Utah and myself, we're going to be in that room. But we're going to be in that room understanding who we represent. And we represent the homies out here, the kids out here that don't have a voice. We represent the people that has been through the criminal justice reform system. We represent the individuals, the young men and women that are stuck in those cells. We represent that kid that's sitting there in a juvenile detention waiting to get certified. We understand their thoughts. We know their concerns. And we know that the system's fucked up. Nothing that they've tried up to this point has worked. And maybe they don't want it to work. In my opinion, I believe that these policymakers, they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to say, hey, look. This is what we're doing to help, people coming home, or to help prevent crime, to help this, to help that. But every year, the statistics keeps ticking up. Violence, crimes, whatever. So, the policies that you put in place, these reforms that you put in place doesn't work, but you keep doing it over and over and over again. It don't work. So part of me believe that you really don't want it to work. Why? Because every single, let me say that again, every single institution for incarceration, penitentiary, juvenile corrections, all the rest of it are a business and a corporation with board members, with stocks, with all the rest of it. So, for example, if I own a hotel, the Hilton, my job as a board member, as a CEO, as an exec, is to fill those rooms up. Is to implement policies and rules and strategies to keep those rooms filled up. Because when those rooms fills up, my bank account gets bigger. So why is it any different from the people that own these penitentiaries? From the people that are on these board members, that are CEOs of these corporations that own these penitentiary? They don't want to stop the funnel of bodies coming through those places. Each and every single cell that they build, they want it occupied. Believe that. There's been cases back in the 80s and the 90s that they were arresting all these young black men for crack cases and giving them 100,000 years, saying they were drug dealers and all the rest, when in reality, a lot of them were just addicts that needed help, but you locked them all up. Why? Because you built a brand new prison and you need it filled up. And the easiest people to be a scapegoat is the minorities in the community, the ones that come from the underserved neighborhoods. I can go on and on about this shit, but and it's not sour grapes, Holmes. These are the facts. And I can give you the facts because I've lived in there. I've listened to these stories. I've read these people's cases. I've sat there with them. And I myself have sat there under the same heel that all of us have been under. You know, one thing we don't recognize out here is the power that the community have. We have a handful of what we call elite controlling the rest of the masses because the masses don't understand their value. And I don't know how to change their mind or to let them see the light when it comes to that. So when I speak, you know, it might just sound like I'm here and there because I'm trying to find the words to get through to them about the power that we have in our community. And I learned this when I was in the penitentiary. There's a couple hundred guards that runs the penitentiary that oversees the penitentiary with administrations and the COs. But there's 2,000 inmates on the compound. The few controls us. You know, they move us like cattle. You know, they tell us this, they tell us that. They tell us when to shower, they tell us when to eat, when we can shit. But it got to a point where we were fed up with that, with some of the stuff that was going on when we were in Victorville, and we orchestrated a lockdown. That's one of the few times in in a penitentiary where you got the whole penitentiary of all races coming together for a common cause. And when they saw that, they're like, "Oh, damn." That's when I first realized the power of the community because we were a community in there in the penitentiary and we were fed up with the shit that they were doing and we organized a lockdown. When we organized that lockdown, yeah, they came and locked me up, locked a few other people up that they believe had played a role in orchestrating it or whatever. But at the end of the day, everything we asked for, we got. And the things that we asked for wasn't anything outrageous. It was just the things we asked for was to be treated with dignity, to have the access to the necessities that helps us function and maintain our sanity with inside the wall. Anybody with any common sense, when they read the memo that we put out for our demands, they couldn't like, oh no, this ain't cool. This is stupid. They looked at it and they're like, what the fuck? They're not asking for anything other than what we have told them they got coming. But the warden at that time wanted to implement his own little program and ideology and insert his bias for the population because we're criminals and felons and just wanted to run it like, you know, his way and didn't give us no room to breathe. You know, when we came off the lockdown, we got everything that we asked for except for cigarettes. They weren't bringing back the tobacco. But my point being is that we live out here every day out here in the streets and we see crazy shit going on. You know, we see that the policies that these politicians make are detrimental to our livelihood. We see our gas prices up fucking 100 times since I've been gone, for sure. You know, your grocery prices and everything, and we're just frustrated, and all we do is sit in the house and cry about it. We don't understand that we can come together, become a voting bloc. We don't understand that we have power within the numbers, strength in numbers. And maybe some of us understand it, but maybe some of us have such a bias or prejudice about the other people around them that they're not willing to sit and communicate with them. They need to understand, man, we're brothers and we're all brothers and sisters in the struggle. Whether you're black, white, Mexican, Asian, and everything else in between. You know, we're all the same people, man, trying to make it, trying to put a roof over our head, trying to put food on the table, trying to take care of our family. Those are common struggles that we can all relate to. And when we understand that, maybe that's a step for us to come together, to finally be brothers and sisters in this community and start using our power, our power to affect change. And with that, I'm gonna leave you guys because it's just like I said, it was a test run. Obviously, it failed because my homie's not on the screen with me. But going forward, I'm gonna push that mentality, unity, and I hope everybody can get to a point in their lives where they will understand and comprehend that we are all brothers and sisters in this struggle, and that it's within us. If we choose to come together to make it better for ourselves, our family, and the people around us, man. Thank you so much for jumping on this test run. I'll see you guys later. Man, Michael Brook is